my decision. I am announcing my commitment to Clemson University.
All right, folks, we're back with another edition of the Red and White podcast. And let's just jump into it again. This is the second time we've recorded this intro, so Will's had to hear that twice. That was Will Shipley just crushing the hopes and dreams of Wolfpack fans everywhere. Will, how do you feel about that?
Running backs don't matter.
That is a less hot take than the first time we did this.
I'm running out of steam, Evan.
So Will's struggling, but it's to me, it's one of the comments that we got was, don't make a big deal about not getting on a running back. And yeah, but you got to land this kid. I mean, parents are state alums, 20 plus families members are state alums, grew up coming to state games. Like everything is there for you to land him, and you don't. And to me, it's not like the Dexter Lawrence one where you had, just because he was local, right? And, his reason was he basically wanted to get out of town. He didn't want to be the focal point. But Shipley is, there's just connections all over the place, and you don't land him. What's up with that?
Well, what I said on the first recording was it's quite possible Will Shipley is not a state fan. His whole family could be state fans, but, this is the risk of growing up in an era where NC State really missed every opportunity to be relevant. And I hate to keep coming back to it, but, you win, you make that kick against Clemson, you win 10-game seasons, you might catch the eye of these kids, because unfortunately, I think that's what State has to do is they got to get over this hump, and they got to do it fast. The last season is going to stick in the craw of any good player. And, there's no reason until they see a change, right? Until they see Beck's offense, until they see State play better, to think that the shit show is not still a shit show is how I feel. And that's just really hard to recruit against when you can't do a spring game. You can't really get on the road and talk to the guys. There's only so much you can do on Zoom. I guess I'm just not surprised. I'm just annoyed that it's Clemson.
Yeah, I mean, of all places to go, it's a division rival, right? Not even like he went across the other division. And to me, just, I don't know, man. That's tough. It's a tough one to lose out on. And it makes me wonder. I don't even think it's about, I don't even think it's about winning games, right? I mean, I know that sounds stupid because kids want to win, right? But it really, all they're trying to do, every one of them wants to make it to the NFL. And he said it in his video too. There's a thing about, or maybe it was one of the stories, I want to play with other players like me. And I was like, man, that's a kick in the balls, right? That's one of those.
Yeah.
What? Go ahead.
You know what? When I hear something like that, I just say, see you, kid.
Yeah. I
don't want to play with kids like that. I play soccer, well, when there's not a virus out there, with a pretty good player who is extremely frustrating to play with because, I think he's got the same mentality. He wants to play with players like him and doesn't know how to play and elevate the game of others around him. And I think a kid like Shipley, if he doesn't recognize that he's the kind of guy that attracts players to come play with him and elevates players up to his level, then, just see a kid. Like, I just can't invest anything in him. I'm sure when he is scoring touchdowns on us, I'm going to have dark thoughts for about a millisecond. But, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I get it too. But to me, like, you look at guys like Naeem Hines, right?
Mhm.
Another local superstar, and stayed home, made it to the NFL. There's nothing that says you can't make it to the NFL. I mean, in fact, somebody pointed out that State's got more active running backs in the NFL than Clemson does. Right? I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. I wonder how much of it is missing out on Dez, or I mean, missing out on that whole Dez situation, right? If Dez is still here, does Shipley come here?
I don't think so. I mean,
I don't think so either, but it makes you wonder.
Yeah, I think Will Shipley strikes me as someone who says whatever he needs to say in the interviews. And I just don't believe that really matters. There's also some other scuttlebutt out there about his parents not being pleased with how the staff recruited him. And you know what?
Like how? That's what I would love to know.
Well,
like, I want to know the story behind that.
Yeah, and I asked, and I don't think the guy ever replied to me. I'll go back and look because I said, hey, I just kind of like a little bit more information on that. Here's the thing: if the staff realizes that he's going to Clemson, and we all basically knew this like weeks ago, I guess.
Yeah.
Then no, I don't want them to pay your son a freaking minute of attention. Because, if that's what you need in order to, it just doesn't, I guess, jive with me as a good sign of a kid's character if he needs to be flipped, right there, kind of like at the end, and then, I don't know if that poster who was close to the family is accurate or telling the truth, or if I read it right. He was basically implying like that his family was anti-Doran, and that, quote, the staff needed, or Doran needed to go, or something like that. And, then I just started thinking, I was like, are these the classic verbal rabble-rouser fans that, just love to complain? Yeah, because that's a possibility. With that many State fans, that's a lot of State fans in a room. It's pretty easy to bitch when you get more than two of us together.
And that's I don't know what to think about that, right? I mean, I get it. Like, in how much of that is they don't like Doran because they fired Dez, right? I wonder if if there's a bigger connection there. I wonder if just sucking ass last year was like, all right, man, this program's going nowhere. Why are you going to put our son there? I don't know, man. It feels like this. For years, everybody's looking at this kid and like, all right, you got to get him. You have to. Like, there's the best, number one all-purpose back in the country, all the signs, everything related to your program. And, by all accounts, they weren't even second. They were third or fourth.
That's what
depending on who you talk to.
That's what I'm saying is I think Will Shipley wants to be on a national stage.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you're putting Clemson and Notre Dame in your top two, it just seems pretty obvious to me that that's the pitch you are resonating with, right?
Right.
And one, I don't know if we necessarily need him today. 2 years from now, probably. You need that talent, but we got running backs right now. We got running backs galore, actually. I'd rather get really good linemen, a super good quarterback, an elite wide receiver, because we need to be able to score. And, I think we got enough place. I mean, if Zonovan Knight's healthy, I'm not worried about running back. And if Jordan Houston can run through shoestring tackles, see ya. I'm not worried. I think, I don't know, man. I just think it's really hard without a spring game, without anything to actually show them that's different, to erase those last few games at Carter Finley from any recruit's mind. Stands are empty, pathetic offense, defense looks completely lost. I mean, I get it.
Yeah, I get it too. And I'm not going to say it's the end of the world. It's just, but it's at the same time, you can say it's disappointing. Both those things can be true, right? I don't want to make a big deal about it, but is it disappointing? It's absolutely disappointing.
Yes.
And I'm sure Dorn was disappointed whenever he realized that it wasn't going to happen. Right now, I got a feeling these coaches know pretty quickly how their recruitment's going to go. Right. I don't think it's a surprise to anybody.
And I think too, just to like cycle the way this is going, where you just don't seem to be gaining any traction. And I mean, it's just got to be infuriating to be a coach at NC State and to see the bullshit down the road just gaining traction left and right. And, it's just like you have to sit there and be like, y'all won 7 games. Like, and you didn't even look that good in them. Like, the Coastal was not some powerhouse. So, yeah, I mean, I could sit there and just be like thinking to myself as a coach, like, dude, we had so many injuries. Why is this happening? But you know what? That's what you get. You made your decision last year. You didn't make the changes. You brought in a bunch of new players as far as, staff. Yeah. And they don't have the connections to immediately jump in and weather that storm. Now, maybe in like 5 months, this won't matter, right? But today it sucks.
It does suck. Yeah, it really does suck. And it's, I saw some tweets earlier that people were screen capping UNC coaches out in Virginia recruiting during the dead period during a pandemic, and which is clearly a violation. So it makes me wonder who's doing that kind of thing. Are we doing that kind of thing?
God, I hope so.
What are we not doing? Because right now it feels, and it's still early. I get it. A lot of these kids are going to flip when, things start unraveling. But it feels like you're getting your ass kicked in recruiting. And, unjustly, right? I mean, are they still riding the 7-win Mac is back train? Like, I don't get that. Tennessee's having a whole lot of success, but it's just a numbers game for them. They got a ton of guys. I don't know, man. Everything lined up, and everything was being said over the last few years that, hey, you got to get this class. This is the deepest class in the state, or deepest class that the state's had in a long time. And right now, everything that led up to this did not put us in a position to succeed. And I think it's a bit unraveling at that point. And that's a little bit alarmist, I think, but the momentum is not going in the direction that it should be going or should have been going. And that's really hurting you in recruiting. So, just looking at the running back standpoint or running back position, you got guys now that can play, but in 2 years, if you don't land another good back in this class, you're going to be looking down at Clemson like, God, we missed out on that. Right. I mean,
yeah. I mean, the reality is if we go head to head for Clemson, we're not going to win 9 out of 10 times. No, 9.5 out of 10 times. Right. I mean, people bring up Nyheim Hines. The big clutch move for us was that we, signed his sister for track and field, and she was the clutch. I mean, she was the one who made the biggest pitch. And I guarantee if that didn't happen, Nyheim Hines is at Clemson. No way he was sticking around. I have zero doubt about it. We just gotta pick up and move on. It would just be really critical for us to land someone of higher profile right now. So like, an Eric Mclaughlin, for example, some would say like, okay, well, we got a lot of quarterbacks in the quarterback room and, who knows how long before he'd even be on the field, whatever. I don't care. You need someone at the top of the class right now that says this place is stable.
Yeah.
And, that is nothing to say bad about, Caleb McDowell or Mario Love Jr., et cetera. Like, but I think, I guess if I was a recruit and I watched last year and if I just watched it and didn't, just forgave all the youth, but just saw how kind of like slow we were. And you hear the staff telling people that they are emphasizing speed at all the skill positions now, which to me, I just don't understand this. I don't
Yeah.
understand how did you buy your hype, or like did you think that you guys had a system that was just, you could just slot anyone in? Like that was Fedora's downfall, was he just thought his system could do anything. And I don't understand how the staff just woke up all of a sudden and said, "Oh, you know what? We should probably get fast people." Like,
That's, I'm going to be overly critical of Dorn here for a little bit, and I'm aware, but I think that's exactly it. I think he's been learning on the job, but at this point, you're in year 7, going into 8, I guess. And, at the end of last year, like, we're too slow, man. Let's get some fast wide receivers. They signed 5 wide receivers at the end of last year's class just because they were fast and we didn't have any speed. Like, people praise Dorn for his evaluation and being able to develop kids, but man, you really missed on a strategy leading up to that. Like, it's almost, I don't know if it was maybe a Midwest expectation and you're trying to play that way, trying to play the Wisconsin big, powerful guys, but that's not football, man. That's not anymore. And I feel like there was just some evaluation issues going into, maybe not even evaluation, maybe just, strategy, or how are we going to recruit? What kind of players are we going to get? Just didn't line up with reality. Right. But we all could see that. Everybody could see it. Everybody said you don't have the speed. And if you do, you lose one wide receiver and now you don't have any speed. Like, come on, man. That's poor planning. Right.
I think it just always comes down to this. I think I think Jacoby Brissett and Ryan Finley blinded them a bit, and Finley in particular, because I think Finley was able to process things so quickly in that offense that he made it move better than it would with a just slightly, more subpar kind of quarterback. And, I keep going back to this, and I feel like I've been kind of like mocked for it at times, but Nyheim Hines basically won you 3 games that last season. And it happened with BC, it happened with Pitt, it happened with UNC. I mean, we are going into the fourth quarter. We're about to go into the fourth quarter down against the worst UNC team I've ever seen. And then Nyheim Hines on back-to-back running plays rips off touchdowns. And I don't want to hear any bullshit about, he bailed you out, but blah, blah, blah. He bailed us out. It wasn't the system was just grinding away. It was that the playmaker finally got a hole and made it, right? And I think that the team for that season in particular was relying on like 3 or 4 big plays, and otherwise it's a 6-6 kind of season. And then the season before that, you had a lot more players. You had kind of the full complement. Everything was working together. You had all the offensive line guys, defensive line. And we were disappointed with it, but, still ended up with the 9 wins. But that's why I think people should have looked a little harder at what we saw on the field versus the win-loss record, and don't just go back and say, back-to-back 9-win seasons. Like, people kind of lost sight of the composition of the team, and I feel like the staff did too.
I think that's super fair. I mean, it's the same. You could have that same criticism. I said the same thing about the Heels, right? They had a couple of those years like they had good numbers, right? They won some games, but they didn't play anybody, and so we have back-to-back 9-win seasons. But did you beat anybody? That's still a valid criticism of Dorn, and I don't know, man. It's frustrating. Somebody asked me this question, and I'm not even sure how to answer it or how I feel about it. But the question was, will NC State ever not be mediocre? And I know that's, it sounds crazy, right, to say it, but in reality, is that true?
If we don't invest a lot more money in football, and I hate to say this, But I'm just starting to slowly be convinced that the way you're successful in the ACC is to get somebody with a Southern accent and a more charming personality that can't really coach, but is just a recruiter. It just seems like that's what you actually need. Um, just look at how everyone fawns over Dabo, Mac, Cutcliffe, before it, Jimbo. I mean, it, I'm just starting to feel like we've gotten two guys that just don't have the personality to win over the talent here. And I don't even know. I can't believe I'm saying this because it's like you look at all the people we put in the NFL, you look at the blue collar mentality of the program, everything is said is done right, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it just feels like that's all the stuff that happens and gets you to the 8-win plateau. Yeah. And I don't think 8 wins is really middle of the road, but I just don't think we're. Yeah. Every time we've had a chance, the last two guys, we didn't get there. We had a chance with Chuck. It was hyperinflated in that one 11-win season. And then we fell flat. So I think you'd have to put more money in the program, and you just got to maybe hire someone that's more regionally affiliated with this area, that knows how to talk to people in North Carolina, Eastern and Western. And, it makes no sense. You see it from the national writers who have experienced night games at Carter Finley. NC State, it should be the premier football location in the state of North Carolina. And part of me just wonders, did we invest poorly, and have we just not realized that we need to get someone that's a little bit more local, regional, Southern to just be the face of the program, and then let all the non-Southern kind of people be your coordinators? Maybe that's the way. I don't know.
It sure feels like it, man. And, I felt that way. It's what's weird about it is because I like how Doran runs the program. Right? I like the blue collar mentality. All the kids, man, they don't seem to get in trouble. They don't seem to be doing stupid stuff. They just, when you talk to them, they're engaging, and they just seem like, good kids. Like, it's the kind of program you want, other than the fact that they don't win. And that's just I'm conflicted. Like, how much should I care? Every year I come up to my renewal, and every year I wait till the last day. I get all this phone calls from the Wolfpack Club, and it shouldn't be that hard of a decision for me. But every year I'm like, should I do this? Like, why am I doing this? If it's a weird feeling, and I would suspect that I'm not alone out there when I'm renewing my season tickets. Other people feel the same way. Like, I want to go and see us win, but I also want to see, and I want to be entertained. And Dorn is not entertaining. If that makes his style hasn't been entertaining, and to me, that's it. That's the part that I don't like.
It's all good if you're winning, Yeah,
it's true.
I mean, I can't tell you how. I swelled with pride after that win at UNC, and he gives the hand in the dirt, speech, right? I like everything about him. I just feel like, I was just reading something before we hopped on here, and someone was saying, well, Doran basically made a pitch to Corrigan and said, I haven't been given enough money. I haven't been able to get the assistance I need. I haven't been able to retain the assistance I need. I can't recruit because I'm not being funded properly. And, so that's why there's wholesale changes across the board. And he makes it. And then COVID hits, and so his guys can't gain traction. So, I mean, maybe this ends up being like a lost year. Maybe everything about the Doran years is just going to be like, what ifs? What if you don't bitch about a laptop on the sideline and fire up Dabo right before the game?
What if Bambar doesn't miss that kick, right? I mean, all these things are going to, that's what it feels like his legacy here is going to be.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like I'm writing him off, and I don't know, man. If you don't have a good year next year, I just don't see how that changes anything. You're going to have a world of excuses, and you're going to have fans that are just like man, I'm tired of excuses, right? I don't know, man.
I mean, we kind of said this the last few podcasts. I feel like, just, and it's gonna be tough now because like if they do a short season or whatever, but show that you're competitive. You gotta break 500. I feel like you go 6-6 or whatever, that equivalent is this year. It's going to be like, Now I think a lot of coaches everywhere should be given a pretty wide berth. Like, unless you look catastrophic out there, it's hard. I don't think people understand how hard it is to be effective at teaching people new things when you can't see them and help them. It's this whole thing is insane to me. I don't even know what kind of offense Beck can really install after 5 practices or whatever he did. But
right.
But I maybe the benefit would be, like we kind of said, is if the guys that he has recruited are those, heads down, focused, aren't being distracted, they're grinding it out even at home, even through all these challenges, then maybe he does outperform this year, and that's enough for people to be like, okay, hey, like maybe we were wrong. It's just really hard to forgive what we saw. I think it's just people cannot let go of what they saw last year. It it hurt to watch a lot of games.
Yeah, and even if they're, all right, so maybe they just have to be interesting next year, right? They have to show some bit of excitement and just being dynamic, right? It's just something they haven't done. Like, you haven't had big plays. We just haven't had that kind of success, right? I know there are people point out chunk play numbers and whatever, but they just haven't had big explosive plays or, just been exciting, right? They grind out drives and they do this and they play possession, and it's just, I don't know, man.
But a lot of
that's not gonna do it.
We talk about it, and Dave will said all that, not all last year, but he started getting really vocal about it at the end of the year about how they're supposed to be setting up the big play with the run game, and instead I feel like he was trying to say, like, you're not setting it up. You're just doing whatever. You don't really have a plan. And the one thing I keep coming back to is, like, if Zonovan and Knight and the running backs are healthy, if the line is healthy, that's the one kind of consistent part of the offense, right? And then you bring in, you've got Emeka Emezi, who apparently is at least working hard. You bring back Riley. You've got Angeline, and you got Rooks, who apparently was turning some heads. And then you got Thayer Thomas, if he ever actually becomes a consistent threat. And, if the run game can set those guys up, maybe they can actually make plays. And maybe the running, maybe they bring in RPO. That seems to be what Beck knows. So maybe it's finally setting up for it. And maybe the best thing for us is we didn't see the spring game, so no one quite knows what the fuck we're going to do for a few games, right? And we can just kind of come out, and if we play Mississippi State, we can go wild. I don't know. I'm talking a lot, man. This is what happens when I get tired.
No, I mean, I think it's an interesting thought process. And to me, Dorn's floor is probably 6-6, unless you have a year like last year where you get devastated by injuries, right? He's gotten enough guys that you really should, and they don't schedule hard enough, first of all. So he's gotten enough guys, and the schedule's usually not very hard, so that you have a floor that is bowl eligible, in my opinion. Right? Last year, we can chalk it up to a bit of anomaly with injuries and whatnot. But even if they're healthy, are they that much better than 6-6? I don't think so. I think it was a train wreck. Like, you could see it looked bad. And I mean, it's all speculation. So anybody can argue with that, but that's how I feel. All right. And so, it comes back to the question: is that floor and an 8-9 win ceiling good enough?
Yeah,
I don't know.
My one thing I would say, just kind of on reflection, to back on last year is if we throw out like the West Virginia game, I feel like the defense for the most part was, despite all the injuries, was just flat out giving it, except for like, the Clemson game where they were just outmatched. But that defense looked like an 8-win type defense. It was the offense that was just flabbergasting. And it makes sense when you think about how we had a bunch of young quarterbacks and, none of them probably should have been playing based on McKay transferring to wherever he did out in
Montana or something.
Yeah, out in Bozeman.
Wyoming. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think that team was going to be good because it was clear that they just missed on quarterback as far as setting up the pipeline behind him to have someone take over right away with Finley and wide receiver, right? And I just don't see how you can be really competitive if your fastest wide receiver goes down in the first few games and, you've got guys who are sitting there processing instead of playing.
Well, that's the thing. You can't be competitive because you don't have any speed, right? We already talked about that. Like,
that's what I'm saying is like, it was a grind because they recruited themselves into a grind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I said, I think it can't be overlooked what J. Sam and Hines and Harmon and Jacoby Myers constantly did, bailing out the offense over and over and over again. Anyways, let's move on.
So my man Mahesh asked us what would you do if you're in Booth's position to improve football? Right? Everybody's gonna say inject money, but how? Like, I don't think the biggest. I don't think you're going to compete in an arms race with Clemson, right? You're not going to get out there and build that same facility. You're not going to get out there and put 100,000 in stands every week. Like, it's just not going to happen. Right. So you need to play into what you're good at or what you're strong into. And that's using your damn brain. Right. So if I'm asking for more analysts, more guys that can evaluate players, more guys that can, watch film and help find those kids that are under recruited studs. Right. Because there's a lot of them. And that's what you need to. That's what State needs to do to be successful, right? From a player personnel standpoint, you need to uncover the best, because if you can't land a guy like Shipley with all those connections, you better find some talent somewhere, right? And something that people are overlooking. That's where I would put my money.
My money would go into finding coordinators and head coaches. Wow. I'd be very careful about hiring head coaches, but you need guys sitting there breaking down film and breaking down your guys in addition to your folks, right? Like, one of the things I always remember about like Chip Kelly at Oregon was they were basically bang, 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 bang in practice and just getting reps. And then they would coach them up on the side, or they would coach them up off the field and say, fix this, fix that. But just keep getting reps. And I think you need guys like that are just like watching everything, but not actually on coaches and, giving that feedback. That's something I think, you put one or two of those guys, it could change the preparation for the team, right? And it can take a little bit of workload off the others. I agree with you on analysts for talent, even though, just don't lose focus of the fact that you need guys that can run 4.4.
Yes.
Otherwise, it is money. It's being able to keep your guys out on the road, to fly them places. It's just a general investment. If you want people to keep coming to these games, you better fix the east side of the stadium. That's a factor. But just in general, I think you want to make sure you're improving the players' lives. And, I really like the things we've done with like the barbershop and the training room redux and things like that. But, I don't expect you to build Clemson's facility, but you still got to make sure it's fun, that people like being at the Murphy. And, I feel like we got a lot of that. It's just now it's like you should probably just go hardcore behind scenes and get the right people.
So Mahesh also asked, do you think it's wise to pull a Clemson and dump a butt ton of money into football? Do you think that's a good idea?
Is my alternative dumping a massive amount of money in basketball?
I don't know what the alternative is.
Because basketball season lasts longer. So,
yeah.
I mean, personally, I feel like, I know it's stupid, but I feel like we're in a better position to be better at basketball than we are in football. I think we're too far behind that arms race. So, do I think it's wise? Look, I don't know. I really get pleasure out of the rest of the athletic department also succeeding. And
I mean,
I
like, if we're being honest,
I just think it's bullshit. Okay, here's the thing. Sorry. I just think it's bullshit. Go get better coaches. Like, we were talking about like getting guys. Who was the offensive coordinator? Is it down in Tulane we were talking about during the last search? Like, go get innovators. You got to be an innovator. We have Tom O'Brien's not an innovator. Dave Doran claimed he was going to be an innovator and then, shipped it the second he had a chance. That's the kind of investment I'd rather see. I'd rather just see someone take a bold chance at state and give people something to look forward to.
I agree. Yeah. I think that's what we need here, right? To make it interesting, to make it exciting, to keep people interested, right? And I don't know how many people relate or can maybe relate outside of state fans can relate to what state fans have gone through being just average, right? And just, we talked to Bridget Condon from ABC and she didn't get it. And I don't know if other people do get it. You need that personality in here that, and we've talked about like that PJ Fleck personality that I'm going to effing win wherever I go, and I'm going to do my thing wherever I go.
Confident and a little weird.
You need that, right? And I've been on record saying I think that next guy is Will Healy.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of personality you need. You need somebody here who's just exciting, right? We said that for a long time. And I don't know, man. Like, is it smart to dump a bunch of money in football? To me, it's the only investment. It is a higher mountain to climb. You got to beat Clemson. But selfishly, it's the only thing I really care about. I want to watch football. Like, I watch the basketball team. I enjoy it. The rest of them doesn't move the needle, man. Everything's about football these days. And Clemson won the national title the first time, and their president came out and said they've had more applicants. They were able to raise tuition. Like, it did everything for the university because it brought that awareness to Clemson. Right? Everybody wanted to go.
Sucks for those people who ended up moving to South Carolina when they didn't need to. So enjoy it, Clemson students.
I don't know, man. That's where we are. That was a long. Thanks, Will Shipley. You did that to us, so I'm gonna blame you for that one too. Well, 38 minutes was on.
Just
Will
saying,
Shipley.
There's something questionable about someone willingly moving to South Carolina. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's the armpit of the country. Wolfblood is all right. Another one. Is Shipley that good? Yes. And he references Hines and Gillespie, better numbers, blah blah blah. Yeah, Shipley's that good.
Yeah, there's a reason everyone's all over him.
Yes, they're one all-purpose back in the country for a reason. He's that good, and we're gonna find out, unfortunately, on the wrong side of that one.
Yeah, only probably 3 times though.
Yeah, that's true. T.A. McClendon, was the best running back that I've ever seen. Like in college, in the area in North Carolina, I guess. Right? People are gonna say Tony Baker. I didn't really pay attention to recruiting when Tony Baker was around.
Yeah,
T.A. McClendon was unstoppable.
The problem was when I got to state, he was on his way out, and it's unfortunate. But that's kind of, again, I think Rob McLam had said it, and at first I was like, wow, that's kind of a bold proclamation. But after just seeing a few of those runs that night broke this year, I'm telling you, he has that potential to be that exciting player.
Yeah. Cam Buchanan, thoughts on the 2021 class? We were told not to worry about it not to worry about 2020 because 2021 was loaded. Looks like Mac is doing great. We're way behind. Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about that. I don't know, man. I don't know what the Heels are doing, how they're spitting what they're spitting, but man, they're on a roll right now. I don't know how many of those guys will stay committed, how many of them are bums, but I'd sure like to have the number 3 class in the country right now, which is what they are currently ranked.
Yeah, it makes no
sickening.
Sense. It makes no sense.
Sickening. Yeah, they got to land Mclaughlin, right? I mean, I think that is where all the cards lay right now. All right, you got to land him. You need that guy. You need that like you said, you need that guy
we say they need that guy,
on people.
But they also need to win. Like it's like how everything went wrong last year. You need it to go right this year, and so far recruiting's not doing that. But I just keep wondering, and I don't know. I've just kind of tuned out from Shipley. Like, I assume, is he signing in the early signing period? Like,
who knows? Like,
but like that's what State needs. State needs guys to basically, they'll probably sign in the early signing period, but State needs to come out and they need to just somehow come out gangbusters and just set it on fire. Defense needs to look great. Offense needs to be at least running the ball extremely well. And hell, just fucking bomb it down the field. I don't care, because that's all UNC did this last year, and it was good enough to quote unquote turn the tide. But I think the thing is, like with UNC and Mac, it just always seems like people are hoping for them to be good, and will give them every excuse to get over that hump. And they are always looking for State to they're just looking to pile on. Boy, this has turned into a really negative podcast. I didn't even think it was going there. I was like, we're going to come on here. We're just going to say, Shipley, that was unfortunate. We're going to move on. We're going to answer a couple questions. And boy.
No, it's a dumpster fire. So is this podcast.
Baseball sucks. Basketball sucks. Football sucks. Women's sports is good. What else we got?
Yeah, wrestling's good. I don't know, man. Like
ACC championship.
How much do you think about if State had beat Carolina at the end of the year? God. Right? State had gone to bowl and Carolina hadn't. Would we still be hearing this same level of hype?
It would be completely different. And that is why leading up to that game, I was like, you don't understand how important it is. That's why it was so important to fucking beat Georgia Tech. I cannot emphasize this enough, guys. This is how bad it was. We lost to Georgia Tech last year, and Citadel beat them. I don't want to hear it. This team was really, really bad last year. They had lots of injuries, but it all came from the top, and a lot of people were gone, and now I'm hopeful again. See? Boom. That's all it took. It only took about 10 seconds.
Oh, well, I can really derail you right here if I ask you, how do you feel about Josh Hall going to the NBA?
I wasn't surprised. Look, my thing is, if you are close to being able to play in the league, and even if that means playing in the G League, just go. I fully welcome everyone going to the G League and getting paid if you are good enough to do that. And, my thought is by doing so, it kind of just maybe proved, maybe not fairly, but he probably wasn't going to be bought in entirely if he's really going to be a short cycle player. And it's probably just best for everyone. I have no problem with Keats recruiting guys that are good enough to make that decision. And, all it takes is for them to not go one time, and all of a sudden you've got a leg up. And that's what State needs. Like, I'm sorry, but State really does need to take a chance, at least on one guy a cycle, that has that potential to elevate us. And I think Keats is comfortable doing it. So I'm actually fine with it. I wasn't really surprised. I mean, LeCue, I think, was a better prospect going into that process.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what kind of surprised people. I mean, I think the thing is, you need DJ Funderburk more than you need Josh Hall this year.
It concerns me that Funderburk hasn't.
I'm sure Funderburk would love to not come back to college.
Yeah.
Based on the start of last season, and I am sure he wants to go on. But I hope he's one of those guys that's going to have a tough decision, right? Because he is an older kid, and foregoing another year getting paid, I totally get it.
Yeah, we saw that with Trevor Lacey, right? We saw how that worked out. But these guys want to get paid. There's more ways to do that, I guess, than the NBA.
I think it's worked out for Trevor, though. I mean,
he's made money over
contracts, and I'm not going to tell a kid to not go get paid a couple $100,000 to go play ball in a backwater European country. I'd say that jokingly. I love Europe. It's just, as far as basketball goes, it's kind of like comical that there's this much money around for. I mean, how many people are even showing up at these games? But same thing, I guess, with the G League.
Yeah, the G League's going to be interesting. I don't know how that's going to impact the college game. I mean, the college game right now is fairly irrelevant. I think it's not a good product, and it's basically 3 weeks. It's three. Nobody really cares during the regular season. Like, I don't watch any other ACC games. I mean, any other ACC teams other than State until the tournament. Like, that's it. It's a 3-4 week game right now, and it's just a mess, man. I think the G League is actually going to help if they make it a viable transition to the NBA or to playing pro ball. Some of these guys are going to get that exposure regardless, right? Yeah. Some of them are going, if they went to college, they're, is Josh Hall going to get the exposure at State that he would in the G League? I don't know. They're probably about the same, probably pretty close. Now he gets to play basketball 24/7, doesn't have to worry about school, right? And he can get dedicated coaches and all that stuff that the NBA is going to provide.
Yeah.
And, let you evaluate them. And so I think the G League we're not the only ones that are affected by this. Other schools are dealing with it. Michigan, UCLA are dealing with it too. It's going to be, an interesting change. Now, what's on top of that, what's going to be even more interesting is when they start letting people get paid, right? They're going to start letting you pay players, right? There's going to be they're pushing that through already, right? That conversation is happening.
Fascinating how they've turned on that, right? Fucking hypocrites. Right. So many.
Yeah, hypocrites. The NCAA is a hot mess, right? We know that. But it's going to be interesting now. Like, are you going to go pro if you can, go to college and get some local sponsors and make good money? And, the G League's or the college is going to be competing with the G League now, right? It's going to be a weird dynamic. And, I've heard some interesting podcasts about it. The Yahoo Sports podcast does a really good job talking about it, and it's probably worth a listen. But to me, like, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be weird.
I think college basketball
GoFundMe to get players.
Yeah, I think college basketball has done this to itself in one way. What you said earlier about, basically, it's not exciting to watch outside of your own teams, and it doesn't give a compelling reason for good players to play. Like, I mean, here's the thing. The Tony Bennett's of the world have ruined basketball, and the conferences have ruined basketball by not having professional referees. And, if the way they let the fouls and the reviews and everything bog down the games, you're damn right I'm not going to go watch anything else. I don't even understand how this year I was kind of really tuned out. I guess I would have been in if we had made the tournament, but The only thing that's fun about the NCAA tournament is that you can get really fun random teams playing each other, I guess, with styles, and that's like there's 4 or 5 teams in the conference that I want to watch play basketball. I mean, it's State, Duke, UNC, Louisville right now. Sometimes like Notre Dame, just because they're kind of wild with just the random white guys that they've got playing. But like, I don't want to watch UVA. I don't want to watch Georgia Tech. I don't want to watch Wake. I don't want to watch BC. I don't want to watch Pitt. I mean, Florida State. I'd include Florida State in that in the initial group. But the rest of the conference is so boring to watch, and it's probably like that everywhere. And we've been rewarding teams that play the pack line defense and ball. Just. I mean, the best thing that could probably happen right now is if they just put like the NBA shot clock in for a year, just to force some action and make basketball fun to watch.
Yeah.
Sorry if there's some Hoosier fans out there that really like what they're seeing, but
I don't think any of our fans will disagree with you on that one. I don't know, man. It's not going to be the same. You need to recruit. Huh?
I'm sorry. I just realized we lost to Georgia Tech in basketball and football. It just dawned on me again. Oh,
yeah. Thanks for that reminder.
Oh, that's how bad of a year it was, man.
Yeah, 3 times we lost Georgia Tech this year, right? We lost them twice in basketball. They swept us.
Oh my god, it's so painful. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but then I couldn't share. I couldn't keep this pain to myself. I had to share it.
Thanks for sharing the pain. I don't even know where I was going with that, but basketball's weird. I have no problem with the Josh Hall thing. Like, it sucks because he's good. I don't know. Basketball recruiting is weird. There's a ton of good players out there. Yeah. I'm probably still more bitter about Jalen Cone not being recruited.
Boy. I knew it. I was like, you know what? Maybe we'll get off the topic before Jalen Cone comes up.
Yeah, exactly.
Jalen Cone, who was the guy that ended up at Kansas that I think Gottfried missed out on? Point guard.
Yeah. Devontae Graham.
Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that is like, I don't believe really in NC State shit. I just believe we're mediocre, and mediocre teams just let you down.
Right.
But that's the kind of thing that has like haunted us, is just like little minor evaluations that we just said, they're probably not good enough. And then they turn out to be just killers.
He's in the NBA. Like, that's good.
It's like, how do you, but that, whatever. I'll save it for another day. Gottfried. I've been trying to hold my tongue for years about him, and I'll just try to keep doing it for our safety.
Like the Clintons, you're gonna end up dead. You start talking about Gottfried. It's like did you see the story? Hold on. Did you see the story about the Russian doctors? They were reporting corona. Like, I'm laughing because this is funny because it's really
the ones that were getting thrown out the windows.
Yeah, all 3 of them, they fell out the window. Like,
let me just say it right now.
Are you kidding me?
I don't support Russia. I don't like the Communist Party of China, or whatever they call themselves now. I do not appreciate places that kill smart people for speaking out. And that's all I'm going to say. Moving on.
Like,
did you hear me, Boo?
They expect anybody to believe that these 3 doctors fell out the same window. Like, on 3 different days. Like, come on now.
Man.
I don't know what happened when Dr. Shavetsky was drinking some vodka and fell out the window. It's like, so stupid, man. Who believes that? But it doesn't matter, I guess. Anyway.
Nope. Nope. Let's move on. I can't.
Yeah. So that was everybody asked for us to come back, and that's what you get, folks. It's been that kind of week. You get 60 minutes of us.
If there's no sports in the next 2 weeks, you'll hear really deranged thoughts, I guess, on COVID. Have we even made our way through the list of questions? Are we done?
I think so. I think we're
Okay.
done. I pretty much covered them all. It's basically the same thing. Will Shipley, McLaughlin, a lot of football. Clemson sucks.
How many have you read any good new books recently?
I finished 17 Jack Reacher books. I've been plowing through them. I am plowing through them. Yeah. So I think there's 24 in the series. I don't know what I'm going to do after that.
Well, Bosch season 7, that's back.
God, I know I hadn't watched it yet.
I'm saving it. I just decided it was. I did not want to burn through that in COVID. Instead, I watched Love Is Blind like a real man. And
all right, so I'll end this on Tiger King.
Oh, late to the topic, but sure relevant. Yes.
Okay, so all right. I have 2 episodes left. My wife and I are watching it. All right, and I don't know why I'm watching it because it's I don't know, man. It got everybody excited. Everybody was talking about it. To me, it's just a train wreck. Like, these are the worst people in the world. They're all assholes. Every one of them is guilty of being an asshole, and every one of them is guilty of probably something else. So I got 2 more episodes, so I don't know like what's going to happen or like where they're going to go with it. But man, is it terrible TV? It's so bad.
It is the perfect kind of show for when most of the world gets stuck inside and hates everything that's going on and feels terrible about themselves. And then they see what's happening with Joe Exotic and Carol, and just everything about it is an utter train wreck. I love it.
I mean, I guess that's it. I'm watching it just because I guess I'm socially obliged to watch it because people keep talking about it. But I mean, it's obvious from the get-go that Carol's guilty of whatever, something. She killed him probably, and
she's just guilty of being a cool cat, man.
And Joe Exotic's guilty of probably something else equally bad. Like, they're all bad people.
Give it time. All I can tell you is new development. Nicolas Cage is playing Joe Exotic.
I did see that. See, I'm torn because Nicolas Cage is one of the world's greatest actors, and now I have to. I mean, do I have to watch him play Joe Exotic? I don't know.
He's gonna kill it. I mean, don't worry.
He's going to kill it. He's going to kill it.
What I find fascinating about it is it's already on TV. So why is there a TV adaptation?
Right, they're gonna make a movie. Yeah, make a movie of it, right?
Now, I thought I saw for the movie that Kate McKinnon was gonna be Carol Baskins, and I'm all in. I could not imagine a better choice if that really is true. Yeah, that's a good one.
She aged poorly for like a little while there. I was like, man.
Who, Carol?
Young Carol. Yeah, young Carol she wasn't bad looking. And then,
murdering your husband really weighs down on the soul.
Fuck. Yeah, so much about that story doesn't make sense, right? Like how they met. She was walking down the street. Was she a hooker? She had to have been a hooker.
Everybody in that show has a ridiculous origin story, and that's all.
Yeah.
I mean, Doc Antle. I mean, everything is.
He's
bonkers.
Awesome. Oh, he's fun. He is funny.
Let's see how you feel about him as it goes on.
Okay.
He's somebody that I think at first I was like, oh, this guy's a nice, refreshing glass of water for this utter whiskey train wreck I'm watching. And then
he's got 8 wives and he renames them all like
that's
cats.
What I'm saying is he's the best part of the show was they're like, what is he a doctor in? And they were like, oh my God. Was it? It wasn't spirituality. God, it was it was something like that. And I just like turned and I was like, what? I mean, the best part is we would watch it late at night. We would put it on the projector on the wall. So there was just this massive Tiger and Joe that we were just falling asleep to most of the nights. But it's perfect shut-in TV.
I guess that's why it's so popular. But man, it is. It's awful.
The good thing is, in about like another 2 weeks, no one's even going to talk about it anymore.
That's true. Yeah. All right. That's all we got. We got an hour of actually hour on the dot.
We got an hour and 5 minutes, technically.
Yes, true. If you include the original recording, this one was way better.
Yeah, it was.
Man, I was pretty critical. I mean, I'm thinking back in the last 60 minutes. I feel pretty critical, but I'm not opposed to it. I mean, I stand by my statements. Like, I support them. I paid for my season tickets again. I paid for my LTRs, all that jazz. I don't feel good about it, though. That's really that's where I am.
I cannot say this enough. I think no spring football was, we didn't get the cough medicine that we needed for last year.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is, man. Yeah. All right. Sober Wolf wants us to talk about the press secretary kicking the media out of the room today. I thought that was great, but I won't get Will started. He's had a bad enough week that I don't need to get him politically excited.
Yeah. I mean,
that was pretty good.
Way to get those gotcha news headlines.
It was awesome. It was awesome. I love fighting back.
Man, I don't know. I think I watched The West Wing too much. I think I just have a different expectation.
Right? It's like me in the newsroom. Like, man, I wish the news was like that.
Oh my God. At least the first season of it.
Yeah. It's so good. It was such a good show.
No, it was great.
It's honorable.
You know what? Yeah. You know what was great about it? That's two Aaron Sorkin vehicles, and it's the dialogue.
That's what I said.
It's just real catchy to watch. But
yeah.
But yeah, all right. I think I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go to sleep, and maybe I won't wake up because it's just been one of those weeks.
Oh, brutal.
Brutal. Yeah, I think I've had 15 hours of sleep in 4 days. I'm exhausted.
Will's really taking the Shipley news hard, folks. Yeah. So let him off the hook a little bit this week. But we'll come back another couple of weeks when there's something else to talk about.
We can finish our.
Let me know how y'all feel, because I think that question about will State always be mediocre, I think it's a valid question. It's interesting discussion. So if you made this far, Godspeed, and let me know what you think. Yeah. As always, go Pack.
Go Pack.
I mean, should I?
For my decision.
Oh no! What is happening in there with that? Is that lights coming on?
I am announcing my commitment to Clemson University.
Oh, terrible AVR.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounded terrible. All right, later, y'all.